Hello and welcome. My name is Louise Fetchu. I am the Family and Community Engagement Coordinator with Kent City School District. So I work with all of the schools here in our district, and we are so excited to have with us today Children's Advocacy Center, Corinn Stonebraker. I told her she has such a great name. I had to announce her like that. She is going to be educating us on what sextortion is. So just once again, this is a sensitive topic. And with respect to that, we're going to ask everyone to hold their questions until the end. And we're going to go ahead and just let Corinn hop right in there. So thank you again for being here today.
Thank you. Thank you, Louise. All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Corinn. I am the Education and Outreach Advocate here at the Children's Advocacy Center. So this is just a little bit about me, and then we're going to kind of get into what we do at the Children's Advocacy Center, our services that we provide, and then we will kind of get into sextortion what that is. So intros, here's my pug, and here's me. So my name is Corinn Stonebraker, Education and Outreach Advocate. Like Leanne says, who's my supervisor, who's also on this right now. First and foremost, we are advocates for kids. So that's a big thing we like to say. I'm a human animal lover, Swiftie. You know, this is just to get a little bit personable, since this topic is pretty tough, like Louise said. So our mission at the Children's Advocacy Center is to improve the community's response to child abuse and neglect and lessen the negative impact of abuse on children. So this is our mission here at the CAC. So whenever a child discloses any type of abuse, most of the time we see sexual abuse. We kind of like to think of it as a boulder, right? So this boulder is the trauma. This is the analogy we use. So a child, after they have been through the worst thing that's ever happened to them, they're holding this boulder on their backs, and it is, you know, super heavy. It's super big. It's weighing them down, right? So what we like to do at the Children's Advocacy Center is lessen that. So we chip away at that as much as we can, and we keep it as a pebble, right? So maybe their trauma is only a little pebble that they keep in their pocket, right? So it's not as big as it once was. That's our goal. A little more about the CAC. So we've been operating since 1998. We provide free services, so we are a nonprofit. So, like I said prior, when a child does disclose the worst thing that's ever happened to them, and they come to see us, we never want to be like, oh, we are so sorry this has happened to you. Here's your bill, right? So everything is free. We facilitate the MDT approach, or the multidisciplinary team approach. And we will talk about that in a little bit later in a couple of slides, what that means and what that looks like. We are nationally accredited by the National Children's Alliance, or NCA. We are very up to date on evidence-based practices, and we do ongoing evaluation. Excuse me. I do have a little survey later on in the presentation that you guys can take. You don't have to, but we would greatly appreciate it if you did. And that'll be towards the end. It's only about maybe like 2 to 3 minutes long, if you guys would take that for us. And we've provided services to over 3,000 kids. So we roughly see about 2 to 5 kids per week. But that's honestly just the tip of the iceberg. After a child discloses any type of abuse. So about 2 to 5 kids per week. The services at our CAC. So like I said earlier, we do utilize the multidisciplinary team approach, which we'll get into. What we primarily do are forensic interviews, forensic medical exams, and advocacy, which we'll get into a little later. And then the education and outreach department is me and my supervisor, Leanne. We go in the community and talk with them about child abuse, human trafficking, and sextortion, which is what we're going to talk about today. So like I said, the MDT, or the multidisciplinary team approach, I know that's a big word. So we utilize this. This is basically like a monthly ongoing case review, like it says. So each month, people part of this MDT come together and we talk about the cases that have happened the month prior. So the MDT is usually everyone, the CAC, which is us, law enforcement, prosecution, mental health, JFS is usually always on the call, medical, this could be Children's Advantage, so anything like that, including in the mental health field. And basically what we do is we talk about any gaps or barriers that the families might be facing, right? So when a child does disclose any type of abuse, that doesn't mean that the child is the only one impacted, right? So the whole family is impacted by this. And we kind of identify those gaps and see, where we can help out at. So this infographic on the slide is really important. So prior to 1998, before the CAC started, it was kind of chaos, right? So after a child disclosed any type of abuse, they would have to find their own mental health. They would find their own prosecution. But with the CAC, so since 1998, we're kind of like the hub for the families and the children whenever they do come and disclose something. So we're the hub. So we, if they have questions, if they need resources, referrals, that's what we're here for. So like I said earlier, we primarily do forensic interviews. So we do have a nurse on staff, and she is the one that performs our forensic interviews. So what this is after the child discloses, we usually get our referrals from JFS or law enforcement, and the child comes in and they sit in the room with our nurse, who has plenty of training to provide this service. And this is a recorded thing. So basically the child gives their own unique information about what exactly happened to them. So our nurse doesn't come in and ask them right away, who did this to you. She does this in a non-leading manner, so the child can say what they need to say, what they need to get off their chest, what happened to them in their unique way. Like I said earlier, she's been professionally trained in order to provide this. And while this is going on remotely in one room at our center, JFS, law enforcement, we invite them to come along and sit in another room, and they watch it live while it's happening between the nurse and the child. So they can sit there and kind of see what's happening. Our nurse also provides forensic medical exams. So this is different from a rape kit. So this is after they have maybe gone to Akron Children's Hospital to get a rape kit done. So our nurse, basically, it's kind of like a physical exam, except they do look at the private area or the genital region. Our nurse does, just in case to look for any rashes or anything that might be concerning. Primarily, this is to collect evidence and document trauma. So some of those traumatic things or physical things that could have happened are, STDs, injuries. We check for pregnancy. But primarily, the main reason we provide a forensic medical exam is so that the child and the family know that the child's body is okay, right? So maybe, after something has happened to the child, something terrible like this, it's good to know that they're safe and that their body is still normal and working as well as it can be. Advocacy is also a big part, like I mentioned earlier. So this is a holistic services for the entire family. So like I said earlier, when a child discloses any type of abuse, this is not just impacted the child, right? So this is a whole family affair, unfortunately. So our advocates provide education, they provide resources, referrals to anything they may need. For example, maybe there might be a food insecurity in the home. Our advocates can help the families kind of navigate that and kind of get what they need. Our advocates are also able to go to court with our families or on behalf of our families to kind of keep them updated on what's happening in the case. And another big term on this slide is being trauma informed. Not only are our advocates on staff trauma informed, but every single one of our employees and are trauma informed and try to utilize that on a daily basis. Okay, so like Louise said earlier, this topic can be a little bit triggering maybe for some of you, and I completely understand. So if it's a little too emotional for you, feel free to take a step back, get a drink, go to the restroom. That's absolutely fine. I want everybody to take care of yourselves and take care of what you need to. We like to use the oxygen mask principle. So, you must take care of yourself before you can do anything for anyone else, right? So in order to be an advocate for change, in order to make change happen, you have to take care of yourself. So make sure you're absolutely doing that. So, before we get into sextortion, does anybody have any questions about what we primarily do at the CAC, or anything like that?
If you do have a question, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask Corinn before we move on.
Hi. You said you see 2 to 5 kids per week. Is that Portage County? Is that Kent?
Sure. So our CAC is Portage County as a whole. So we see children where the crime has happened in Portage County. So not just Kent, this is the whole Portage County, including the rural areas as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good question. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, if you do think of something, go ahead, jot it down or something, and maybe we can ask it at the end as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're kind of going to get into the main portion today. So sextortion, we're going to define what that means. I'm sure a lot of you would have heard the term. So we're going to talk about what that is. We're going to talk about who sextortion targets, who the perpetrators are, how it happens, the emotional toll of sextortion, maybe red flags in your kids that you might see. And at the end, probably the most important thing is how you can help, and resources. Okay. So we are going to watch a video.
Today's date's November the 12th, 2013. The time now is approximately 7:28 in the morning. Investigator R.D. Vire, present is Detective Joe Phillips with Virginia Beach Police.
Do you remember that time period?
Yes.
Can you start to tell the jury what happened?
I had, a friend request from this Steve Crofton guy.
Prior to that date, had you ever had contact with a Steve Crofton?
No.
For the first time in history, we're letting strangers interact with our kids in the back of our car, in their bedrooms, in their homes.
That online environment has just created this access to children that was never there before.
Physiologically, they don't understand who is out there and what people are capable of.
It's been called a new form of sexual assault, online sextortion.
For HSI, the increase that we've seen is definitely sextortion.
Sextortion is probably the fastest growing crime in the world.
That's right, sextortion attempts are skyrocketing.
You know, we see cases come in for children as young as 8 years old, 9 years old. We're talking elementary school children.
As a predator, you can actually create an online profile that matches the preferences of that child.
He got information from our chats through my computer, information about my mom, about my sister. He had Google images of my home.
From 16 years ago to today, there is no mold. Anybody from any walk of life could be involved in this. I mean, we've had doctors and police and clergy.
Simply the fact of who the offender was very shocking in this case.
We intercepted a letter that he wrote to the Chinese embassy in Washington. If they would break him out, he would give them all the information on the F-18.
When you talk to me, please don't lie to me. You're a grown man, you're an officer in the Navy.
These grown men are going after these young girls and they try to kill them. Might not be in their intention, but they're killing them. And we have to stop it.
I would literally do anything to save one. There's so many kids out there that need saving that there's just not enough of us to do it.
Today's date's November the 12th.
You guys see my PowerPoint again?
Ooh, not yet. We're still on the YouTube video.
Okay.
We're good.
Thank you. So that was kind of an overall view of kind of what sextortion is, if anybody was didn't have any idea. We like to show that video. Okay. Hold on one second. Technical difficulties. Sorry about that. Okay, so back to where we were. So sextortion, you just saw that video. It's very eye-opening, very kind of emotionally taxing, especially when we know that there's children being involved in this, right? So what is exactly sextortion? So it's the practice of extorting money or child sexual abuse material, which was primarily referred to as child pornography. We're trying to get away from that and we're calling it what it is, right? So it's not porn, it's sexual abuse material. So it's the practice of extorting money or sexual favors from someone by threatening to reveal evidence of their sexual activity. There are some really great resources on these upcoming slides from ice.gov, missingkids.org, and thorn.org if you guys want even extra resources and whatnot after this presentation. So sextortion is a form of child sexual exploitation where that child is threatened, blackmailed. They're usually manipulated into sending any type of sexual image. And then if they don't send it, they are threatened maybe that the perpetrator is going to expose them, right? So okay, hold on a second. Hold on one second. Sorry, I have no idea what just happened.
I'm not sure either. I'm getting some pop-up Zoom alerts on my end as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
so-
I have no idea.
Yeah. I think we're having some issues on the back end right now with Zoom. So I apologize to everybody for that.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, if you just want to keep going, I'm trying to mediate
We
that
will.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me get back to where I was and we'll keep on trucking along.
Yeah, so sorry.
Okay. Can you still see my screen, Louise, or no?
I can just see you.
Okay.
Sorry, everyone.
Sorry about that. We don't know what's happening.
I
Okay, so
really
some
don't. I'm so sorry.
things happen, right? So some statistics. So the cyber tip line is the national tip line that you can report sextortion or human trafficking or anything revolving around that. So since 2016, the cyber tip line has received over 250,000 reports of online enticement of children. So between 2019 and 2021, that number actually more than doubled, unfortunately. I don't know what you guys think, but we know that, a pandemic kind of struck the country during that time. So maybe that's why everybody was online and doing this type of stuff because they didn't have anything else to do. In reports of early 2022, 79% of offenders were seeking money. Another really interesting statistic. So before 2019, that research was showing that the primary victims of this were females. That has switched. So males are more likely to be victims than their female counterparts. And a lot of that is because a lot of the perpetrators are now starting to, instead of wanting increasing sexual activity from a female, they're wanting money more. That's what research is showing. So same as sexual abuse or any type of abuse, youth who identify as non-heterosexual were twice as likely to be victims of sextortion than their heterosexual peers. So this is also included in sexual abuse, where LGBTQ plus community is increasingly more, it happens more to them. You can report sextortion online at this cyber tip line. So we like to say that sextortion does fall into two groups. So there's the offline and then there's the online, right? So our offline, typically the victim knows the person, okay? So this is frequently sought after the perpetrator, maybe they broke up, maybe it was a couple in middle school or high school or something along those lines. And during that time, they got images from their girlfriend or boyfriend, and they broke up, and now the perpetrator is seeking to humiliate them, seeking to manipulate them or threaten them into sending, exposing their pictures to everybody, including their friends and everybody at the school they may go to. This is called revenge porn. And I'm from Pennsylvania, so revenge porn, there is a law out there regarding that, which is good for out there. Online, so this is usually when they have never met in real life, right? So this is the maybe relationships that are just online or friends that these kids are meeting while they are online. So this is frequently sought for the perpetrator to get more sexual images of that child or to meet in person for sexual contact. So to meet for that physical sexual contact. This is also, like I said earlier, this is also the perpetrator trying to get money from that person.
I am going to head and just pause real fast. Our Zoom link is going down. So I have started a new Zoom link, resent it to everybody's calendar. And then if we can all, we'll close out of this end and we will just go back to the, so it says new Zoom link. I also put the Zoom link in the chat. So if you have the ability to hop over to the chat, please feel free to just grab on that one. So I apologize for our technical issues, but we will go ahead and get restarted in like 2 minutes. If we can all go back over, we'll go into the new Zoom.
Thank you,
sorry,
Louise.
Corinn. So sorry.
That's okay. That's absolutely fine. Thank you.
Thanks. See everyone there.